Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about this Aegis Bipod, okay? So we're talking about the bipod today. I did mention it briefly in another video on this Ruger MPR, but today I wanted to do a dedicated video on it. It's a $40 bipod on Amazon. It's an M-LOK, so this attaches to the M-LOK rail, okay? So you can see how it attaches to the side. Prior to this, I did have another bipod that attached to the bottom, so I had to put a Picatinny rail, right? I had a 3-slot Picatinny rail, and then the bipod attached to that. It made it stick out a lot more. I would basically mount the bipod when I wanted to shoot it off the bipod, but then when I wanted to store it, just because it stuck out so much, it was a little cumbersome. The thing that I like about this Aegis is once I fold it up, right? So and the way it goes is the legs collapse in like this, and then it'll rotate up like that. Do the same thing over here on this side. Bring the leg in, collapse it up. Okay. So as you can see, it sits on the side of the rifle, right, attached to the M-LOK over there. So it's light enough that I can keep on there. I can store it in the safe like this. If I'm shooting this standing, the gun is light enough, so in one power I can come up and I can comfortably shoot this without too much extra weight being in the front over here, right? Now obviously it does add weight. The bipod, the two, here's the second one. These two pieces, right, this is what they look like. So I got a second set, so you can tell I must like it a lot. These two pieces together weigh about 9 ounces, okay? So they're aluminum. So this is pretty light, and that's primarily what I was looking for, because my mentality is that, here's the thing, on a rifle like this, right, which is a dedicated, rifle like this, which is a dedicated distance shooter, because I got a 1:8 scope on here, so most of the time when I'm shooting this, it's at distance, and it makes sense since it's an 18-inch cold hammer forged barrel. It makes sense for me to put a distance scope on this, so I gotta have a good scope on it, right? And once you add the scope, right, I gotta have a sling on it, right? So because you gotta have a sling, because a lot of times I'm walking into the woods, with almost a 9.5-inch, 9-pound rifle. This rifle, as you see, it weighs 9 pounds 4 ounces, right, with those bipods on it. You gotta have a sling on it so you can carry it into the woods, carry other things in your hands, and then from this position I'm able to whip it around and come up. Right? Normally I keep this in the 1 power. Right, and then only when I want to shoot distance, I'll switch it to 8 power, and I'll bring it back down to 1 power. Okay, so as I was saying, if you're gonna go cheap on something, you go cheap on the bipod. Okay, because if the bipod breaks, you can still use the rifle. You can still do the things that you want to do. Now, as far as shooting this rifle, right? Let me bring this up. Let's deploy this again. So this deploys down. So another reason why I wanted to go cheap on this, or rather I didn't want to invest too much money on this, is because, like, most of the time if we're shooting, right, if we're shooting on a table like this, okay, no matter what type of bipod you're using, it's going to want to slide, okay, so doesn't matter how good your bipod is, it's going to slide on you. And when you're shooting off of a bipod, I kind of see that as the weakest link, okay? This bipod works best when you're on the ground or you're on a rough surface, okay? Now, one of the things to be aware of, if you're gonna keep these legs deployed like this and drop to the ground, you're gonna break them, right? If they hit something, right? It's not gonna take much force to break these legs, okay? Now, I think to understand with the M-LOKs, right? The M-LOK system by itself, right? This rail system is not terribly strong. So even if, let's say, you get a much more heavy-duty bipod that attaches to the M-LOKs, if you hit the ground, right? If you fall to the ground and this hits, the weakest link here will be the M-LOK. So basically it's going to basically, somehow or other these rails are going to bend, and that's where it's going to break. So if anything is going to break, I would rather the bipod break rather than my rails get bent out of place. Okay, so that's the other thing I was thinking with this particular design. Now, if I'm shooting this, let's say in a prone position on the ground, right? First of all, let me mention this. I like using 20 round. That's a 20 round magazine. Usually, when I'm shooting this rifle, I'm using a 20 round magazine because here you can see it doesn't hit the table, you know, if I'm on the ground, sometimes there might be a rock there, or you know, I don't know what kind of surface I'm going to be on. So I'd rather have the shorter 20 round magazine. But what I'm going to do is let me bring up this rim over here, just because I'm looking for something that's going to give me a little friction. Okay, so if I'm on the ground, right, what I'm looking to do, move forward a little bit. I will usually flip these legs forward a little bit, right? Because there's a couple of positions. I'm going to switch this to the 45 position, and you can see with the 20 round magazine, it's still not hitting the table. Not that it matters if your magazine's hitting the ground or anything, but it's just more stable. You know, if I leave this over here, if the magazine's what's supporting this, it tends to be a little bit less stable. It will want to fall over. Whereas this, because the grip is further back, that tends to be a little bit more stable. So another reason why I like using 20 round magazines. So anyway, if I'm going to be shooting this, what I want to do is I want to load, what we call load up on the bipod. So with the legs forward like that, you know, I'll place them, you know, I'll find the rock or a log or something that's gonna where the legs are gonna catch into, right? And basically I'm gonna push forward a little bit. So by pushing forward a little bit into those legs, I'm able to stabilize the gun a little bit more. Okay, so this is what they call loading up on the bipod. So shifting the legs forward to this angle will make them a little bit stronger, right? Because now the stress is going up into the stronger area over here, right? It's going straight up rather than if it's down like this, right? Right. If it's like this, then what's happening is now, you know, the stress is on the point that catches and attach. Now another option is you might find yourself in a position where you can also bend the legs back a little bit. So in this position like this, you know, depending on what kind of ground you're on, you know, you can now like pull back. I can't quite do it. Here you go. You can pull back on the legs. Right. So by pulling back on the legs, okay. So now instead of pushing forward, I'm pulling this into my chest. So this is another way to stabilize the rifle, right? So you can bend them back a little bit like that. So that sometimes works. So you gotta see what kind of ground you're on. So these are some nice options that you can have with this. This is a good place to, you know, this is a good scope, a good bipod to buy, spend $40 on, and then kind of experiment, see how it works for you. You know, and then down the road you can maybe upgrade to something more expensive if you find that this is not cutting it, right, for what you're doing. Okay, so you know, but this is an area where I don't mind, you know, just using the $40 bipod, because if this doesn't work for me, I can always just, you know, bag the gun, right? So here's the thing: most of the time, if I'm trying to get like a tight grouping, right? So I just want to know, you know, how tight of a grouping this gun can shoot with a typical type of ammunition, at a specific distance. I will not use the bipod, right? I will actually bag the gun. I'll bag the gun in the front. I'll bag the gun in the back. And the reason is because I can get the gun a lot more stable. Okay. So again, that's another reason why, you know, at the moment I'm not, you know, I don't see it as a priority to invest in a more expensive bipod, because most of the time, if I'm trying to shoot at distance, I think that no matter what bipod I have, bagging the gun is still gonna produce better results versus shooting off of a bipod. The bipod is good because I can basically walk into the woods, and not have to carry a bag with me. Okay? And you know, with the sling over here, you know, the nice thing is that the bipod, you know, when it's folded, it doesn't get in your way. I can throw this over my back. It's not like stabbing me in the back. All right, so you know, it's nice when the legs aren't stabbing you in the back. All right, and then from there, you know, I can whip it around, bring it up. Okay, so that works pretty good. Now you notice the way with the legs positioned where they are, I will hold the gun like this, right? So this is my position where I hold the gun, right? If I'm going to come up, because this has like that 1 to 8 power scope on it. So most of the time it's a distance shooter, but the nice thing about this is it has the capability to shoot close distance, right? So if I'm going to carrying this gun, I'm expecting to shoot long distance or medium distance, but I can quickly power it down to 1 and also shoot close distance. So if you're going to have a distance scope, I really like the option of having, I like having it be able to go down to a 1 power. Now, how about a light on this? Normally, I will not carry a light with this setup because the light adds weight, right? So this gun right here, as you see, it weighs 9 pounds 4 ounces unloaded. Okay, the legs by themselves, the two of them together are 9 ounces. If I was to, let's say, go out into the woods, I normally would not put a light on this gun because I would not be expecting to be shooting this at night. However, I would take a light with me, right? And the nice thing about the pistol light is that it goes on really easy, right? So you can mount it over there. Okay, I'm not going to bother tightening it down now, but with it in that position over there, I can come up and I can activate it with my thumb. So this is a really good option. I can put this light on when I think I'm going to need it, and I don't need to keep it on there because originally I had a Streamlight, the 1000 lumen light, with the pressure pad, right? So what I found is that it made the rifle heavier. Obviously, if I have that type of a light mounted on the side, it's going to interfere with folding up the legs. So if you're gonna have a rifle with a bipod on it, and you don't have space over here to mount a light, a pistol light is a good option, right? And again, I wouldn't bother mounting this on the rifle because you're normally not going to expect to be using it, but it's good to have with you, and it goes on easy. You don't have to be looking for zip ties, so this system works pretty good. Other thing worth mentioning is because of the scope on this, right, I have the ambidextrous charging handle on this. Normally I don't, I just use mil-spec charging handles, but this is, because of the scope, this is really convenient to have that ambidextrous charging handle. It works really good, especially if you have gloves on it, and I can get to it when it's in that, tucked up under there. So that's my setup. Bipod is working really good with this setup. $40, it just does the job. Which is not to say at some later point I may not consider upgrading, but right now this is doing a pretty good job. I have no complaints. I've been using this for about 6 months now. I've had lots of new shooters. I trained lots of shooters at distance shooting. They've been able to shoot this pretty good. And again, they're always going to shoot better when they're bagged, right? But they shoot pretty good with this. What could possibly go wrong with this? There are some pins in there. I can see over time the pins might slide out, But again, the bipod, having a bipod on your rifle is not a critical component. If the bipod fails, you can still do the things that you need to do with this rifle, right? You can still improvise and, and hit the thing that you need to hit. So the bipod is really a comfort. I see it as a comfort. So that's why when it comes to spending money on upgrades, that's probably the, of all the things, that's the last thing that I generally give priority to. So they're my thoughts on that. If you guys have any feedback, comments, put in the comment section. And if you're not a member, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.